Returning home one day, I was stunned to find my room barren. "What's happening here?" I exclaimed. Behind me, my sister-in-law's voice cut through the silence, filled with a sense of victory. "You, a childless, unproductive woman, are nothing but an obstacle in my path. Leave." Her words dripped with malice as she attempted to usurp my parents' home. The notion was absurd. After all, I was single. "I'll unravel your devious plan," I vowed. My name is Catherine, a 40-year-old office worker navigating life's twists and turns. Though I've encountered potential partners, circumstances led me down the path of singlehood. Despite occasional bouts of loneliness, I've made peace with it. Marriage isn't the be-all and end-all. Besides, there's the responsibility of caring for my parents. With my older brother living afar, I took it upon myself to support our aging mother after her father's passing. Now, it's just the two of us, relishing the tranquility of our days together. Despite my mother's sharp mind, a year ago she suffered a leg injury, leaving her disabled. Now reliant on a cane, car, or wheelchair for mobility, she struggles even within the confines of our home, requiring constant care. Fortunately, being single and able to reside with her, I've been able to meet her needs. Were I married and living elsewhere or far away, the situation would be far more challenging. So I suppose my single status has its advantages. Yet while I've found contentment in my life, there's one who's discontented: my sister-in-law. Much younger than me, she married my older brother, making her, despite her status, my junior. They live distantly but return for holidays like Christmas and summer vacations. Whenever my brother's family visits, my sister-in-law seems to reserve her harshest words for me. This past Christmas was no exception. As they arrived, she wasted no time in whispering in my ear, "Still living off your parents, Catherine." Shocked, I retorted, "I'm not mooching off anyone. Just because I'm single and living at home at 40 doesn't make me a parasite." She scoffed. "Oh, really? Well, I'm raising 3 children. Can you even comprehend the responsibility? What's your point? The state's population is declining, isn't it? Our family is doing its part to reverse that trend. Singles like you are the problem," she sneered. "Do you take pleasure in population decline? Is life even worth it if you're single forever?" Her words stung. They struck a chord deep within me. Despite being single for various reasons, there was once a man I hoped to marry, but there were complications with my health. I'm unable to have children. When he asked me to be in a relationship, he knew this from the start, and I was transparent about it. He reassured me, "I just want to be with you, even if we can't have kids. As long as we're together, I'll be happy." So I agreed to date him, but marriage brought unforeseen complexities. The challenges and conflicts we faced led me to remain single. My sister-in-law's hurtful words left me speechless, yet she had the audacity to exploit me financially. "We have 3 kids, remember? Your Christmas gifts should reflect that. We expect generosity. You should contribute to our kids' kindergarten enrollment celebration, at least $1,000. You're not strapped for cash, auntie, so don't act like it. Don't you want to give our kids a good education? I'll let you help raise them, so pitch in for their extracurricular activities." It's as if she believes using the kids as leverage will justify her demands for more money. I don't mind giving gifts for special occasions, but I fail to comprehend why I have to endure her disapproving sighs as she inspects the cash in the envelope right then and there. Then why am I expected to foot the bill for their extracurricular activities? When I mention it to my mom or brother, they react with disbelief, unable to fathom such audacity from my sister-in-law because they've never witnessed it. That's the thing. Behavior only surfaces when we're alone. She's quite cunning. During the recent New Year's holiday, she wasted no time opening the gifts I gave to my nephew and niece while my brother stepped out briefly to assist my mom. With a disdainful tone, she remarked, "Is this all? Your gift is quite meager. How destitute are you, you tightwad?" It's yet another instance that my mom and brother struggle to believe. I've contemplated recording her behavior, but the potential fallout on family dynamics holds me back. I can't risk damaging relationships. After all, my mom cherishes her 3 grandkids dearly. If my grievances lead to my sister-in-law avoiding visits, it would deprive my mom of precious time with her grandchildren. That would be heartbreaking for her, so I opt to stay silent. If I can simply brush off her hurtful comments, perhaps things will calm down. That's what I believed until circumstances took a sharp turn. One weekday, my sister paid a visit. With my brother at work and me working from home, it was just the 2 of us. My mom was at a senior daycare center, the kids were at daycare, and they were due to visit their maternal grandparents afterward. In this rare moment, my sister-in-law came to see me alone. I was puzzled by her unexpected visit on an unusual day, but she wasted no time getting to the point. "I think we should move in here," she declared. I was taken aback. What could she possibly mean by that? "Move in," I echoed, seeking clarification. "Exactly. Our family has been considering it," she confirmed. "By our family, you mean?" I trailed off, trying to wrap my head around the idea. "My husband, our kids, and me," she clarified. "Here, in this house?" I asked, incredulous. "Yes, because I'm pregnant with our fourth child." I couldn't believe it. With 3 kids already, one in elementary school, another in kindergarten, and the youngest just starting preschool, they were expecting a fourth. It was impressive, but they currently lived near her parents, who likely provided support as they were doing today. So, I couldn't help but wonder, what would be the advantage of moving here? "John's getting transferred here. That's the scoop," she revealed. John, my brother, now I recall him mentioning this. "Seems there's a plan to open a branch office right here in our hometown. Who's eager for a branch office gig?" I asked. "John, apparently," she replied. He had volunteered for the position with enthusiasm. It made me wonder how personnel decisions could be so casually made. "Are you okay with this, sis? Wouldn't it be better to stay closer to Mom and Dad?" she inquired. "Mom and Dad are still working, so I can't lean on them too much. They start to fret if I ask too often, lecturing me with check with your husband first or stop delaying parenthood, assuming parents are the ultimate fallback. Mentioning a fourth child would just add to the stress." "Fair enough. That's your call. I'm not in the loop," I responded. "I could empathize with your parents' viewpoint. My brother mentioned how he takes on household chores after work, cleaning, laundry, and even cooking dinner." My sister-in-law confirmed it. It's true. Despite his work fatigue, my brother has always been considerate and helpful. Maybe that's why he seemed worn out whenever I saw him. "Still, isn't expanding the family a bit daring?" I questioned. "Life is a blessing, a joyous occasion," she countered. "I'm not one to say, stop having kids. But why the move to our place?" My confusion must have been evident. My sister-in-law explained, "Dealing with my parents is a hassle, and our current location is too isolated and inconvenient. Instead of leaving John to fend for himself here, we thought it'd be better for all of us to move in together." "Well, there are plenty of daycare options around here, right? So, Catherine, could you please find a place of your own soon?" My sister-in-law's words left me dumbfounded. What on earth was she suggesting? "I'm about moving in. Let's discuss that with my mom and brother. But why should I be the one to leave? Think about it. We'll soon be a family of 6, right?" I reasoned. "That's true," she conceded. "So won't this house be too cramped?" I continued. "Well, I suppose," she reluctantly agreed. "Then why are you telling me to leave?" I pressed. "I don't understand. Yes, 6 people is a lot, but 8 of us, including my mom and me, can manage living together. Sure, when the kids grow up, sharing individual rooms may become necessary, but worrying about that seems premature." Growing increasingly frustrated by my confusion, my sister-in-law raised her voice. "Look, you're in the way. You're childless and getting older. For our sake, move out, and don't go too far. You'll still need to help with the kids," she demanded. After her tirade, she abruptly left, urging me to vacate the premises soon. "We need to have a family meeting." That evening, I briefed my mom on Susan's remarks and dialed my brother. His response caught me off guard. "I've arranged a separate house for my family," he disclosed. "Sure, I've been traveling a lot for work, and I know it's been hard on Susan. But is she really that unhappy in the countryside?" His confusion was palpable over the phone. There was still something unclear. Despite this, Susan's plan to move in with us was seemingly put on hold, or so I thought. After a long stretch of working from home, I returned to the office one day. My mom was staying overnight at the daycare, worn out from work. When I got back home, I was met with a shock. What? My room? Completely empty. It felt surreal. Where had all my belongings gone? I got rid of them. All of them. Susan's voice startled me from behind. Turning around, there she was. "Susan, what are you doing here?" I exclaimed. "Shh, you'll wake the kids," she hushed me. "What kids?" "You'll wake the kids?" "What kids?" I questioned, bewildered. "The 3 kids are here until the beds arrive tomorrow. They're sleeping on the living room couch," Susan explained. Rushing into the living room, I found my nephews and niece fast asleep. "What's happening?" I demanded, still trying to process the situation. Susan, looking amused and somewhat speechless, chuckled. "You wouldn't budge, so I had to resort to drastic measures. I'm not leaving. I've already discussed this with my brother. Do you think you can just do as you please? Do you realize how many people you're inconveniencing?" I retorted. "Who's the one doing as they please here?" "I'm the one inconvenienced." I wanted to snap back, but I held my tongue, mindful of the sleeping children. Susan, however, disregarded my restraint and declared loudly, "Who cares what your mother or brother says? If you move out and our family moves in, they wouldn't object. That's for sure." "What? Where's all my stuff?" I exclaimed, bewildered. "I had a junk removal service take it all away," Susan replied casually. "No way. You got rid of everything, even my photo albums." "This is unbelievable," I protested. "Come on, if you understand, then leave," Susan insisted. "What? Hold on. Let's not argue." I resisted, but she easily overpowered me and ejected me from the house. It was nighttime, and causing a scene wouldn't help. She ignored the doorbell and my calls. With no other option, I spent the night at a budget hotel. The next day, I took a day off from work and hurried home. As I reached for the door, Susan emerged. "Oh, Susan," I exclaimed, trying to reach my brother, but to no avail. "Let's talk anyway. My husband is on a long business trip abroad, and the time difference makes it hard to reach him. You know I was on my way out, so make sure you take care of my kids." With Susan's abrupt departure leaving me stunned, I had no choice but to look after the 3 children. When my mom returned home that evening, I greeted her with a bitter expression. "Mom, isn't this a bit too much? It's certainly excessive to disregard John's input and act so assertively. Leaving the kids behind and going out is unbelievable. If she needed to leave them with someone, her own parents would have been the logical choice." I concurred with my mother. "And what are the actual advantages of living here? Plus, she went out all dressed up. There might be a clue in that," I added, pondering. In agreement with my mother's assessment, I promptly enlisted the services of a private investigator. A month later, I found myself in a hurried search for a 1-bedroom apartment as temporary accommodation. Susan had completely redesigned my room in my parents' house, rendering it unrecognizable. John was livid, admonishing her, "You can't just do whatever you want." But she seemed to argue that moving in would be better than their current residence. She also made comments like, "You're often away for work, right?" I thought it'd be nice for the family to stay together, so I tagged along. Raising children is truly challenging. It's only natural to live close to family and seek their assistance, he reasoned. When he mentioned that my mother required care, Susan retorted, "Catherine does, doesn't she? She's always at home. She must have plenty of free time." "I'm not just sitting around. I'm actually working from home," I defended myself, but Susan remained resolute about not allowing me back into the house. "You can't think you'll get away with this forever. We need to talk," I asserted, lacking support from my brother, prompting a family meeting. "Why the sudden urgency? I'm pregnant. Let's make this quick, okay?" Susan grumbled, though her belly showed no visible signs yet. Disregarding her complaint, the 4 of us, my brother, Mom, Susan, and I, gathered in the living room. "By the way, we've left the kids at a weekend daycare. Susan, first off, please apologize for disposing of my belongings without my consent," I requested. But Susan scoffed at my words. "It's your own fault for not leaving sooner." Without hesitation, she added, "People like you, who can't even have kids, should just live in a rundown apartment." "Yes, it's true I can't have kids, but I was living here for Mom's sake," I countered. "But your mother-in-law would enjoy living with her grandkids more than with you," Susan asserted, glancing at my mom. Mom replied diplomatically, "Living with my grandkids would certainly bring me joy." However, Susan cut her off with a triumphant smirk. "See, it's more meaningful for us to live together than with an unproductive person like you." Ignoring Susan's taunt, Mom continued, "If they were my real grandchildren." "Ha!" Susan was bewildered, not grasping my mom's implication. Suddenly, my brother produced a large envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "The findings of your affair investigation," my brother revealed calmly. "Ha!" Susan looked surprised, staring at my brother, who continued unfazed. "You didn't think we'd find out, did you?" "What are you talking about? I never cheated on you," Susan protested. Really? So these pictures are all fake, then? My brother retorted, spreading several photos on the table. Among them. Wait, no, Susan exclaimed, recognizing herself in compromising situations with another man. I found it odd when you insisted we move away from our parents who were helping with the kids to live here. Sure, the city offers more convenience, but you're not even utilizing childcare services and are relying on Catherine for childcare, aren't you? Well, I need a break too. Why not use childcare services like today? It's a waste of money. Do you think I haven't given you enough money? I'm saving up for our future, you defended. What's the point when our bank account is empty? John interjected, presenting the bank book, which indeed showed a balance of 0. Hey, why are you brushing this off? It's our family's money. I have every right to check. So where's the savings for our future? Well, it's in a different account, you stammered. Oh, really? Let's see that bank book then. I don't have it with me. Where is it? John pressed further. Well, Susan hesitated, her lies becoming increasingly apparent. Despite the moderate temperature, sweat formed on her forehead. Maybe it's in the attic, she finally mumbled. John slammed his hand on the table. Enough. No more lies. Can you still justify yourself in light of this evidence? He demanded, pointing to a photo. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake, Susan confessed, her composure slipping. You've been having an affair with this man since we got married, haven't you? John accused. The guy confessed to me, Susan protested. What? Why were you talking to him? He has a family too. He only confessed to me under the condition that I wouldn't tell his wife, John exclaimed. What? He betrayed me, Susan exclaimed in disbelief. The one who betrayed us is you. Susan seemed flustered under John's intense glare. Eventually, she regained her composure, the sweat dissipating. Well, I regret the affair. It won't happen again, I promise. But I think it's best not to divorce. It's not good for the kids to be without their mother, and besides, I'm carrying a new life. You wouldn't want to be separated from your own child, would you? Turning to me, Susan continued, you can't expect grandchildren from a childless daughter. And if I take the kids and leave after the divorce, you'll never see your grandkids again. Is that what you want, mother-in-law? She laughed triumphantly at our silence. See? Exactly. Useless old woman, just a nuisance. It's only natural for her to leave. Susan stumped around, visibly agitated. Then, unexpectedly, my mother spoke up calmly. Well, you who are completely unproductive to me should also leave with your child. Huh? Susan's smile faltered as she looked at my mother in confusion. John then handed her a document. What's this? She asked, puzzled. Huh? DNA test results. Negative. Susan exclaimed in disbelief. What is this? She demanded. It's the result of a DNA test between me and the kids. When did you? John began. That's none of your business. Anyway, the results speak for themselves. None of them are mine. And here are the results confirming your affair, meaning they are indeed your kids, John interrupted, handing her the document. What? Huh? My kids aren't mine, Susan gasped, meaning they're not my mother's grandchildren. They're complete strangers. I added, stunned by the revelation. No, it can't be true. You're lying. You knew about this, didn't you? You orchestrated this. Susan accused, her voice rising in panic. I didn't. That's what the other guy said. John protested. You told him it's sad that our children can't live together as a family. I interjected, shocked by the revelation. Susan looked as though she might faint any moment, her face drained of color. Then my mom delivered the final blow. So, you're a burden because you can't bear my son's children. Please pack up and leave with the kids and hurry. What? Are you going to throw us out onto the street? These young kids, you monster. Susan cried out, attempting to garner sympathy. The real monster is you. Another voice boomed through the room, causing Susan to whirl around, eyes wide with shock. Dad, why are you here? And Mom too. Standing before us were Susan's actual parents. They've agreed to take all the children once I explain the situation, my dad explained. You foolish daughter. Can there be anything more shameful for a parent to hear? Susan's father's stern words caused her face to pale even further as she sobbed. John, Catherine, I apologize deeply for my daughter's foolishness. We will make sure she faces the consequences, Susan's mother added. Consequences? Hold on, I can't afford that. Susan protested. "Will you cover for me, Dad?" she pleaded. "No way. I'll lend you the money, but you're paying me back even if it takes you a lifetime," her father declared sternly. With that, her father whisked Susan, who was on the verge of tears, away without waiting for a response. Her mother, repeatedly bowing deeply in apology, left a lasting impression. Despite being good parents, they had raised such a daughter. "Raising kids is tough, huh?" I remarked lightheartedly. Later on, my brother John smoothly went through with the divorce. Her parents cleared the alimony and her expenses from the affair in one go. The kids went back to their grandparents' home. They've been there before, so they're adjusting fine without any confusion. They didn't do anything wrong, John, who had always believed they were his biological children, said with a hint of sadness. "It's hard to accept that they're suddenly not yours. I hope John's wounds heal one day," I mused. 3 years later, John found a great partner and had a child of his own, but that's another story. As for Susan, she had her 4th child, and when she tested for paternity, it confirmed it wasn't John's. Under strict supervision from her parents, she worked tirelessly, but she continued her affair. Eventually, her infidelity was exposed to her lover's wife, leading to a major confrontation. After the intense altercation, Susan faced more alimony payments, and it appeared she was ejected from her parents' home. Her whereabouts remained a mystery thereafter. As for me, I continued to lead a tranquil life, caring for my mother as always. Remarkably, all the belongings she disposed of were swiftly recovered by contacting the waste disposal company on the same day. On one such serene day, a familiar face greeted me unexpectedly. It had been quite some time. Before me stood the man I had once envisioned marrying. "I couldn't forget about you, and I've remained single all this time. Even my parents have relented, albeit for a somewhat selfish reason. With my brother now married and having a child, they've told me I'm free to pursue marriage as I please," he confessed, a gentle smile adorning his face. Caught off guard, he presented me with a ring. "It may be belated, but I can't imagine being with anyone else. I want to support you in caring for your mother. So will you marry me?" Overwhelmed, tears welled up in my eyes. Without hesitation, I embraced him tightly, his tender smile offering reassurance.
I didn't want to go on our family vacation because my sister always makes me babysit late at night. Every time we go out, I'm stuck looking after my 3 nephews. It got so bad that I had to move out of my parents' house. Last summer, we went to the beach for vacation. My parents paid for my hotel room, but I had to share it with my rowdy nephews because my sister and her husband wanted their own room. They said I'd have time for myself, but I ended up babysitting again. I complained to everyone about how I felt, but they reminded me that I was getting a free trip. We mostly did only one thing I wanted to do, which was visit an art gallery. I love doing this when I'm at the beach, but the kids don't like it. This year, my parents planned another beach trip for June, assuming I'd go along like last year. But I refused. I said I'd drive myself and pay for my own hotel room so I could have my own space. My parents were surprised and tried to remind me of the cost, but I told them not to worry. I have a good job and a reliable car, so I can afford it. That's when the argument started. I explained my reasons for wanting to do things differently this time. I want to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not feel like a child like last year. My parents told my sister about my plans, and she called me angrily. She said I'd ruin the vacation if I didn't help with her kids. I got upset and yelled back, telling her how she always made me babysit last year. I didn't get to do what I wanted, like going to an art gallery. I'm a grown man, and I deserve to enjoy my vacation too. Now my sister isn't talking to me, and my parents want me to ride with them to avoid conflict. I'm still saying no, but it's hard with all the pressure. Am I wrong for sticking to my decision? I know it'll be tough for my sister to handle her kids without anyone's help. Update: it's only been an hour since I posted, but my sister saw it on Reddit. She's really mad at me and upset that people in the comments aren't taking her side. She went on a big rant about how hard it is to raise triplets and how I should help because I'm young, single, and she needs a break. I didn't change my mind, so now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm waiting for their call. Update: I finished work, so I can tell you more about what happened. It's all done now. My sister got her parents involved. They saw my post and were shocked by all the comments. They're mad that I posted here, but I told them if they listened to me in the first place, I wouldn't have needed to. I'm tired of always having to keep the peace at my expense. They got mad at my sister instead. Long story short, the vacation is canceled. The hotel wasn't booked yet, but my parents are arguing with my sister. She's blaming me, and my nephews are upset they're not going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and hinted that I don't have a life, so I should help. I recorded it and told our parents, and that's what they're arguing about now. Small update. I wasn't going to update again, but here's a little more. Parents said that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented. You made my day. Update 1. My parents said sorry, but my sister didn't. At least not at first. A week ago, I made this new account to ask if I was wrong. Turns out I wasn't. There's so much to tell that I couldn't fit into the original post, so a friend suggested I come here. When I asked if I was wrong, it caused a lot of trouble in my family. Basically, my parents and older sister got used to me helping with my young triplet nephews. I stayed home until I was 22 to save money while going to college. A scholarship helped a lot, and living at home kept me from getting too much debt because I worked part-time. I'm really grateful for that. But after college, everyone acted like I had all the time in the world and dragged me on a family vacation. During that vacation, I had to babysit my 3 6-year-old nephews. I even had to share a hotel room with them, and let me tell you, those kids didn't listen to anything I said. On the first night of the trip, I had to call their mom twice because the kids were misbehaving. But I got blamed for wanting to do other things during the vacation. It seemed like if the whole family didn't like something, it didn't happen, which was unfair because I'm part of the family and didn't get a say. I told my parents about this after my last post, and they admitted they were wrong. After that terrible vacation last year, I decided to move out before the summer ended, which surprised everyone because I didn't warn them. I got a great job right after college thanks to an internship and moved to cut my commute from 45 minutes to 15. My sister was mad because she wouldn't get free babysitting on weekends anymore, but she still tried to make me do it. Sometimes I gave in, especially if there was pizza involved, and it became a habit. But last month, my parents said we're going on another family vacation to the same place, and they wanted it to go the same way as last time. I quickly realized it was a setup. If I let my parents book the hotel rooms and rode with them, I'd end up in the same mess as last time. So I calmly said I'd drive myself and pay for my own stuff. That's when everything blew up. My parents begged me, and my sister tried to pressure me by making me doubt myself. But I didn't give in. After standing up to my sister, I posted on Am I the Jerk? Because of all the pressure. My sister found the post in less than an hour, and things got messy. At first, my family was against me. My sister called our parents, who then called me in the morning. They were on the phone with me while reading my post. They tried to say it was exaggerated, but I pointed out details that showed it was true. Then I told them to check the comments. There were too many for them to read, so I kept updating them. I told them I was tired of always having to make peace by giving in to my sister. Then I told them I had to go, and we'd talk more later. My parents were shocked to see hundreds, maybe thousands of comments in just a few hours. Later, I updated them that the numbers had doubled and were still growing, which made them even more shocked. So they had to really think about what they'd done. My sister kept trying to call me while I was at work, but my phone was silent until lunchtime, so she could only leave messages and texts. She finally got through to me during lunch. She was upset because my post made our parents mad at her. They argued, and my parents ended up canceling the whole vacation. They later admitted they were embarrassed and blamed each other. They said they were wrong to always make me babysit for free when I wasn't even living at home anymore. They tried to say they didn't charge me rent during college, but I reminded them that kids don't ask to be born, and I was trying my best to make my own way. Then I reminded my parents that my dad got the same help from his parents when he was in college. That ended the argument. When my sister called me at lunch, I told her the facts, and she didn't react well. She basically said I don't have a life and should spend my weekends helping her because she's tired and can't go out without her kids unless someone watches them. But she's a stay-at-home mom with a husband who makes good money, and they own their house. My nephews aren't really my responsibility. They just assumed they were. My sister hung up angrily, but I recorded the call and played it for my parents later. They were mad and fought with my sister. She blamed me and insisted my life should revolve around hers. I told her that was selfish. It took days, but her husband made her apologize to me. She seemed really sorry, which was unusual for her. It came out that one reason I was always asked to babysit was because my sister didn't trust strangers. It wasn't really about the money, but maybe it was. My brother-in-law thought my sister paid me for babysitting. But after I moved out, she didn't even give me gas money. She just gave me cash, enough for pizza for me and the kids, and kept the rest. She'd been shortchanging me for months. He got mad when he found out during her weak apology. She had to pay me back from her own savings, which she didn't like. Then he apologized for not standing up for me and promised to hire a babysitter from now on. It'll cost them, but my sister will get her date nights back. We had a family meeting where we all talked things out. There were apologies all around. Then my parents said we're still having the family vacation. I'm still driving myself and paying for my own hotel. If my sister tries to make me babysit again, I'll stay in a different hotel. She promised she won't do that. If I don't update after the vacation in a month, everything's fine. Update 2. My sister called me, demanding I delete my posts. She's even more upset now that she knows how many people saw them. It's not great having a family that knows about your Reddit account. Yesterday, she called me after work to ask if comments were still coming in. She said she couldn't handle reading them herself because they were all mean to her. So I told her the truth. About 10 comments still come in every day, and they mostly say the same things about her. She started crying and begged me to delete my posts. But I said no. I told her she can cry to anyone she wants, but the posts stay up because they're my way of making sure she doesn't treat me badly again. She basically thought my life should revolve around hers, didn't pay me for babysitting, and made me babysit all the time during last year's family vacation. So I didn't have any fun. It's no surprise people hate her for treating me like that. When I mentioned that the posts had spread to other websites and some articles and videos were made about it, she screamed and hung up. Then my parents called, begging me to delete the post. I said no because they didn't stand up for me. If they told my sister to treat me like an equal instead of a servant, none of this would have happened. I'm not her servant or babysitter. I'm her brother, and I'm grown up. Wouldn't they be tired of this if they were in my shoes? They agreed but still begged me to delete the post. I said no and told them I'll keep posting if they don't stand up for me more when my sister complains. Let her solve her own problems because enabling her caused this mess. I didn't have those kids. I have my own life, a new career, and I want to ask someone out soon. I'm moving forward, and I won't let them hold me back. They can either support me or keep enabling my sister, but I warned them that enabling her would end badly. I said I'd only stop posting if the drama stops. I kept things anonymous, and I have the right to vent my frustrations. My mom cried, my dad stayed silent, and I told them tears won't change my mind. They know what they need to do to end this, stop enabling my sister. So my sister called again to yell at me because our parents told her they're not getting involved and she needs to sort things out herself. They also told her to be nicer to me. I could practically see her eyes twitching when she heard that. I was pretty sarcastic with her, and she ended up crying when I hung up. Later, my brother-in-law called to hear my side of the story. He was upset that I'm still posting and made his wife cry, but I explained everything to him, and he said he'd talk to my sister again. I hope this drama ends now, but the family vacation is still on for late June. I've already booked my own room and asked for a day off work so we can leave on a Friday. My room isn't near my parents, sisters, Bill's, and nephew's rooms. It's not even on the same floor. When we go to the coast, if it's not a family activity, I'm going to do what I want. I'll visit art galleries, eat local food, and just enjoy myself for a change. Update 3. The family vacation is over, and some things went as expected, both good and bad. Good because my parents didn't let my sister make me babysit. Oh, she tried, but it didn't work. But it was bad because my sister tried to find out which room I was in, which got her in trouble with her husband again. First, I told the hotel not to give out any of my information to anyone except the police. They promised they wouldn't. On the day of the vacation, I left earlier than the rest of the family. They wouldn't be ready until at least 10 a.m., so I left at 9 a.m. check-in wasn't until 1 p.m., but I wanted to be early. I sent a group text and headed out to make the 3-hour drive. My parents were upset because they had planned a family brunch on the way, but I didn't know about it, so we just had fast food instead. When I got to the hotel, it was too early to check in, but I told the staff not to give out my information to my parents or sister. They said they don't do that, but I told them I know it sometimes happens, so I'm being careful. I told them not to give out my information if my mom, sister, or nephews try to ask for it. They promised only I would have access to my room. Then I went out to eat. When I came back over an hour later, I saw my parents' car and my brother-in-law's SUV. I made sure the lobby was empty before checking in. The clerk said my family asked about me and where I was staying, but they refused to tell them. My sister tried to push it, but her husband stopped her. I checked in, went to my room, and called my parents. I didn't mention what happened with the clerk, and they didn't bring it up either. Then we all met up as a family to go out and explore. At one point, my sister asked me to watch her kids for a bit. I refused because I knew what she was up to. She'd say she'd be back soon, but end up gone for ages. I called her out, and her husband told her to stop asking me to babysit. Instead, she started crying, saying she needed a break. Her husband reminded her that he's tired too, but he's not complaining. My mom gave me a mean look, so I went over and told her if she even thought I should babysit, I'd leave the vacation right then. It's not my job, and I'm tired of them treating me like it is. That made my mom cry too, and she kept saying you're right over and over. It's an old trick of hers to make me feel guilty, but I just said, I am right, and walked away. Neither my mom nor sister tried anything for the rest of the day. When we got back to the hotel after dinner, my family crowded into the elevator, but I waited for the next one. My sister gave me a mean look because she knew what I was up to. I sat in the lobby watching YouTube for 15 minutes before taking the elevator up. I was on a different floor, far away from them. I had a great night. The next morning, we all went out for breakfast, but I made sure they left first. I was the last one out, just like the night before. Breakfast was good. Then I told them I'd be doing my own thing for the day. My mom mentioned plans to go to the aquarium and some other places, so I said I'd meet them later, but the rest of the day was mine. They agreed, and the day went well. When we got back to the hotel that evening, my sister saw me leaving my room. She must have been searching the whole floor to find me. I went back to my room to rest before dinner because I was tired from walking. My sister was nearby. When I left my room for dinner, she tried to corner me and said I'd ruin the vacation for her because she had to take care of her kids alone. I disagreed because our parents were helping her a lot. I told her I'm tired of being blamed for everything and to leave me alone. I started walking, ignoring her yelling. She followed me to the elevator, but we didn't talk. I told my parents and brother-in-law that my sister had stalked me to find my room. She was scolded and she had a pity party. I told her to stop acting like a victim and grow up. The days when she could control me were gone. Then I left the lobby and went to my car. This time I got to dinner first. When everyone else arrived, my sister looked sad, but we didn't talk about what happened before, and that was okay with me. My sister didn't talk to me the whole evening, and I didn't care about riding in the elevator with them. I told them not to disturb me unless it was an emergency, because I had the do not disturb sign on my door. The last day went smoothly. Neither my sister nor my mother bothered me. They had given up by then. During the vacation, I played with my nephews a bit. I'm not mean. I just didn't want to babysit. The kids didn't mind. They just wanted to play. I even bought them each a little bag of crystals and stones as a souvenir. There were some small arguments between my sister and her husband, but I ignored them. Overall, I'd say the vacation was a success because my mother and sister realized they couldn't control me anymore. Update 4. My mother and sister saw my last post. They just can't leave things alone. I warned them that if they didn't stop, I'd go back to Reddit, and here I am. The short version is that they freaked out after seeing my post. My sister had been checking my account for days because she knew I'd post something. Well, what did she expect? That I would just say everything was fine. She called me and cried, saying I made her look like a bad mother. I replied, well, if the shoe fits. My sister argued with me more, but I asked her to name anything in the post that wasn't true. She tried, but I pointed out that every detail was correct. So what did she do? She called Mom. Then my mother showed up at my door demanding I delete all the posts. I said no, and now I have more material for another post. I ended up making her leave crying. I had a serious talk with my parents on the phone later. I told them that their support of my sister's behavior caused all the problems in the family. I made it clear that I won't go back to the way things were, so they shouldn't hope for it. My parents then told my sister to stop blaming me and leave me alone. They can't handle the stress anymore. My sister felt sorry for herself, but my parents snapped her out of it. My brother-in-law has a cult. I think he's trying to stay out of the drama, but this can't be good for his marriage or our relationship. So out of respect for him, I'm sorry, but your wife went too far. My parents want my sister to get counseling because she can't handle being a mom and trying to keep up her old habits. She needs to be responsible. I hope this is my last post. If my sister keeps treating me like her personal servant and blaming me for everything, we can't be around each other. Maybe we can move past this if she's willing to change. I won't write anything else about her on Reddit. I'll only talk about my own experiences. If she treats me with respect, this will all be over. Got it? Update 5. My parents and I had a long chat and they apologized. We've decided to keep some distance until Thanksgiving. I also talked with my brother-in-law over beers last night. He's making my sister get counseling or he might leave her. They're finding a counselor for her now. He said my sister was mean to me at home, but she's a loving wife. He also said she had some issues from being an only child. She agreed to counseling and will go when they set it up. They found a babysitter for my nephews too. My brother-in-law also said he was mad at me but didn't help when he should have. We agreed it was a bad situation, so we're putting it to rest. Lastly, these posts helped me get a girlfriend. She figured out it was me and waited for me to say something. We're going on our first date tonight. Thanks to everyone here for the support. It meant a lot. Oh, the food tastes awful again. It's hard to enjoy it when you're so unhappy. Marrying you was a mistake, and being born into this family feels like another mistake. Having 2 sick people in the house is exhausting. Whenever my husband looks at me, he just complains. I don't want his words to upset his sick parents. My name's Chloe. I'm 34. We've been married for 5 years. We met through a friend when I was 29 and my husband was 31. After finishing college, I lost both my parents to illness one after the other. My husband, Sam, wanted to get married quickly, and I thought he was serious about it. But now I think he just didn't want to be left behind because all his friends were getting married. We started talking about marriage after only 6 months of dating, and I met his family. They were nicer to me than I expected, especially when they found out my parents had passed away. His mom helped me with the wedding planning like my own mom would have, and I was really thankful. So, I didn't mind the idea of living with his parents after we got married. Actually, I felt very welcomed. Chloe, your coffee tastes really good. Thanks. My dad, who passed away, loved coffee, and I do too because of him. Sometimes I even blend different types of beans myself. I was so passionate about coffee that I wanted to open a cafe with my dad someday. After my dad died, I lost my love for making coffee, but my father-in-law really likes the coffee I make. When I see how happy he is drinking it, it reminds me of my dad and sometimes I cry. But my husband Sam doesn't care much about coffee. He can't even tell if it's instant or brewed from beans. He always says instant is probably better. I love cooking, but Sam doesn't seem to care about food. He never compliments my cooking and thinks all food tastes the same. But my mother-in-law enjoys cooking with me, which makes me happy. I always wanted to cook with a daughter like her. Chloe, you know so many recipes. You've been teaching me a lot, thank you. I love cooking with you every day. Sam didn't help with chores, but my in-laws always appreciated what I did. So married life was good. But 2 years ago, my mother-in-law got sick. She didn't need to go to the hospital, but she had to rest sometimes. Chloe, I'm sorry. I'm feeling better today, so I can help with chores a bit. Please take a break sometimes. I'm okay, don't worry about it. But Mom, Chloe is really good at housework. Sam, don't say that. Do you realize how much Chloe helps us every day? You can work without worry because Chloe is here. You should show some gratitude. Taking care of my husband's parents is something I'm grateful for. It's not hard for me to look after my mother-in-law, but it bothers me that Sam doesn't appreciate me. After my mother-in-law got sick, Sam started complaining about the house being gloomy. He began coming home late and working more on his days off. Then I noticed makeup on his clothes, lingering perfume, and other suspicious signs. When I confronted him, he admitted to having an affair. He said he met her at a bar where he went with colleagues because he didn't want to come home early and help with caregiving. I was shocked by his lack of guilt and the ridiculousness of his excuse for cheating. It made me angry and frustrated to think he was doing this while I was taking care of the house and his mother. But my father-in-law got really mad and scolded Sam, who seemed to feel really sorry at that moment. He said sorry and promised not to cheat again. So I decided not to divorce him. But honestly, I was more worried about leaving my sick mother-in-law than staying with Sam. I couldn't imagine Sam taking care of his mom, and I thought it would be hard for my father-in-law, who was still working, to do it alone. Then, when my father-in-law turned 65, he retired. On the day he retired, Sam was more interested in how much money he'd get from his dad's pension than appreciating his dad's years of work. It seemed like Sam was counting on getting some of his dad's pension, but his dad's answer was totally unexpected. "I can't give you any money from my pension," he said. "I'll only get enough to live on." What? So why did I put up with everything all this time, taking care of my mother-in-law and living with her? What are you talking about? You barely do anything to help your mom. Just living in the same house doesn't count as taking care of her. After that, Sam's mean words got worse. It seems he only acted sorry when caught cheating because he was hoping to get some of his dad's pension. I should have married a richer woman. This marriage was a mistake. Stop it, Sam. Chloe has been good to you. Shut up. My mom is just a bother. How can you talk about your own mom like that? This house is so sad. I'm stuck with a useless wife, a boring dad, and a bothersome mom. Even though his father-in-law warned him many times, Sam wouldn't listen. So he started working more, even on weekends. I can't help but think he's cheating again, just like before. But then my father-in-law fell in the garden and hurt his back badly, so he couldn't get out of bed. Taking care of my in-laws was hard, but they cared for me and always seemed sorry, so I didn't mind too much. But it bothered me that Sam wouldn't help at all. I'm sure my in-laws would be happier if their own son took care of them instead of me, who isn't related by blood. Sam, can't you help with your parents? Why should I? They're your parents, not mine. Can't you at least be nice to them? I got stuck with a bad wife, and now I'm stuck with bad parents too. I just can't catch a break. I can't help but think my in-laws are the real losers for having a son like me. I still have a feeling that Sam might be cheating, but I can't leave because my in-laws are sick. If I go, Sam will probably neglect them. I don't want to stay married to him, but I can't ask for a divorce because I worry about my in-laws. Then Sam said he was going to Hawaii for Christmas with his friends. You're going to Hawaii for Christmas? Yeah, I'm not spending my holiday in this sad house. I need a break in sunny Hawaii. Don't you want to stay here and spend Christmas with your parents? No way. Who'd want to spend their vacation here? Who I go with is none of your business. Is it a woman? Shut up. Why do you care? You're just like last time, denying everything. He must be cheating again. I wasn't surprised to find out, but I was disappointed in Sam's attitude. He didn't seem sorry at all. It hurt to realize he didn't see me as his wife. I work hard every day. I don't need constant fun. But Sam remarried. Shouldn't we at least have some basic respect for each other? I don't see it that way. You're just here to take care of my parents, like a maid. That's awful. If you feel that way, let's get a divorce. Don't bother me, especially since you have nowhere else to go. Just stay quiet and do your job. I don't want to stay married to him after this. I want to say I'm okay with divorcing him and leave. I can handle it on my own. But now that my in-laws are both bedridden, I can't leave them. But taking care of them is hard, and I don't know how we'll manage if I leave. Even if I put them in a care facility, I don't know if they'll both get in right away, and it's expensive. Can their pensions cover it all? Even if I work, I don't know if I can earn enough. I have my own life to think about too. It's all really worrying. But after everything, I can't stay with my husband anymore. You're worried about Sam, right? Yes, it seems we raised our son wrong. I'm sorry for what he's done to you. You don't have to worry about us. Do what you need to do. That's right, Chloe. You should be free. But I can't just leave. I can't leave everything to Sam. My in-laws care about me so much, even more than their own health. Their words touch my heart, and I feel even more determined not to leave them. And while I stay quiet, my husband talks about his affair like it's no big deal. I'm going out with her again. I'll be back late. Huh? It's better to have dinner with her than look at my face, right? But you know I'm cheating, and you still won't leave. So you've basically accepted it, right? It's like you approve of the affair, but nobody has given approval. Staying here means you have. You're just holding on to me because you can't survive on your own. It's really pathetic that I can't even say anything back to my husband who says such hurtful things. I cry in frustration, but when my husband sees my tears, he just laughs even more. It's heartbreaking to see him like this. What am I doing? My in-laws keep apologizing to me for their son's behavior, but it's also painful to see them like that. Maybe it would be better if I wasn't here. Maybe because I'm here, my husband relies on me too much regarding his parents. But even if I feel that way, if my husband doesn't change, I'll regret leaving forever. There's no guarantee he'll change. Then the day before Christmas Eve, my husband brought up divorce. I want a divorce. I prefer younger women. Huh? But you can stay here as a housekeeper, meaning things will stay the same. You'll live here for free, so think of it as your salary. With that, he put a signed divorce form in front of me. I understand. Of course, I won't become a housekeeper, as he suggests. But I also don't want to be his wife anymore. There's a limit to how much you can disrespect someone. I'm sure my husband knows I could leave his parents. That's why he can say these things so boldly. Knowing that makes me even more angry and frustrated. Well, take good care of them, okay? The next morning, my husband left happily for his trip to Hawaii. Even if I left him, I wanted to stay with my in-laws, but it wasn't that simple. I had to let Christmas pass without him. But without him, the day was peaceful, with no complaints. The three of us enjoyed Christmas dinner together, laughing while watching TV. Even though I knew I had to think about the future, I wished this peaceful time could last forever. And then, from the TV, I heard the Christmas song start. Merry Christmas, I'm used to. Suddenly, my father-in-law sat up in bed. All right, let's get going, dear. Okay, my mother-in-law replied as she quickly stood up. What's going on? Merry Christmas, Chloe. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, but is your back okay? How are you feeling? When I asked, they looked at each other and smiled. Then my dad gave me surprising news. On December 30th, my husband Sam came back from his trip. He called me sounding panicked. Hey, what's going on? Where are you? I can't reach Mom or Dad. Well, your parents have been busy with Christmas stuff, so they're resting. Where did you take them? Did you kidnap them? No way. They decided to go on their own. They were supposed to be unable to move. You took them without asking? They can move around just fine on their own. What? As soon as the Christmas song started, my in-laws stood up. Seeing my shocked face, my father-in-law said, "It's time for a fresh start," and laughed. Turns out his back pain had healed, and my mother-in-law had gotten better over the last 6 months. But because of Sam's mean words, my father-in-law made a plan. He told my mother-in-law about it, and she agreed. Since Sam got a job at a big company after college, he became more arrogant. He'd often stay out late, but they weren't too worried because he was single. When he married me, his parents hoped he'd settle down. But 2 years ago, when his mom got sick, he didn't take care of her and cheated on me. He acted sorry, but his dad sensed something wasn't right. As his dad's retirement neared, Sam started talking about the pension, showing his greed. They knew he was being fake just to get the money. But when Sam found out there was no pension, he showed his true colors. This confirmed his father-in-law's suspicions. Actually, his dad got more pension, but he didn't tell Sam because he knew Sam wanted it. If Sam had been nice to his mom and me, they would have shared the money with him, even without the pension. "It's sad it didn't happen that way," said his father-in-law sadly. When he fell and hurt his back, Sam said, "If you're bedridden now, you'll just be a burden." That made his dad stop seeing Sam as his son. So the parents decided to act like they were bedridden and make plans. He said sorry for causing me trouble. During that time, I noticed a "for sale" sign on our house. Why was it there? The meaning was pretty clear. Don't waste time. Our house was put up for sale. We moved out. What? I didn't know anything about this. Exactly. I don't want to live with you anymore, so I didn't tell you. My father-in-law bought a new house with his savings. The old house was supposed to be sold by a real estate agent, and we were supposed to leave by Christmas. But since we weren't going anywhere, we waited until yesterday when Sam left for his trip. It was funny how my father-in-law joked about moving when the Christmas songs played, but it felt like a new beginning for me too. All I had left to do was pack my stuff, which was easy. The movers were already booked, and everything was moved out by the 28th. Dad, did Sam get enough money from the pensions? He didn't tell you because he wanted it all for himself. What about the money from selling the house? I'm his son, so I should get a share. It's my right. Your dad is still alive, so it's not inheritance, right? But you know he's determined to spend all his money before he dies, so you won't get anything. He's still my dad. He doesn't want to be your dad anymore. Oh, and don't worry. I've already started divorce proceedings. But he bought a new house. When Dad dies, it'll be mine. Oh, the house my father-in-law kindly put in my name. There might be gift tax, but I think I can handle it with the property I'll get from you. What? This was the second time I caught my husband cheating, and he dumped all of his parents' care on me while he kept abusing me daily. I've been a homemaker for 5 years. With everything considered, I was told I'd get a fair share of our property. My father-in-law already talked to a lawyer about it. Your things are in storage, though there wasn't much. The lawyer has the key and will contact you later. Where am I supposed to go now? I don't know. Figure it out. That's not helpful. I told my girlfriend I'd be living in a nice house with a maid. Without a house or you, I'll look bad. I couldn't believe he said that to me. It reminded me he only thinks about himself. I didn't even want to talk anymore, so I hung up. Maybe you can do wrong without getting caught. My ex-husband's boss saw him in Hawaii during a work trip and found out. His company has strict rules, so he got demoted and a big pay cut. After my lawyer contacted the woman my ex-husband was seeing, she disappeared. Sadly, my ex-husband keeps asking to get back together, but I won't agree to that. Now he's struggling to pay his bills because he spent a lot on his mistress. He begged my lawyer to reunite us, crying about his problems, but the lawyer said no. Then my father-in-law recorded my ex's verbal abuse, and the lawyer was upset, saying it wasn't okay. So it's no surprise my father-in-law bought an old house with good air. I'm planning to turn it into a cozy cafe. We discuss ideas every day, trying to make it work. I don't know if it'll succeed, but I'm giving it my all. Seeing my in-laws happy makes me happier than anything else. I want us to keep living together, enjoying good coffee and getting along. Can you really sit here? You're not part of the family, just married in. My mother-in-law said mean things to me while we were having dinner at a fancy restaurant. She looked at me with a smirk and waved her hand. I felt so mad but tried to stay calm. Are you telling me to leave? I asked her. I was shaking with anger. Just as I was about to get up and leave, my mother-in-law stopped me. Hold on, if you're leaving early, who's going to pay the bill? Give me the money. She said it with a proud look on her face. I smiled back at her and said, why should I pay for someone I barely know? My name is Maya, and I'm 29 years old. I work in an office. My husband, Tyrell, is the same age as me, and we usually have a good time together. But there's one problem, my mother-in-law. She's always trying to control me and make me do things her way. My mother-in-law lives close by, so she often visits our house without being asked and keeps complaining about everything. She always has something to say about my cooking, saying it's not good enough for her son. She also criticizes how I keep the house, calling me a failure. Even though she knows I work during the day, she comes in the evening and mocks me for being at home. But she acts differently when my husband is around, so he doesn't believe me when I tell him about her behavior. He thinks she's fine because he hasn't seen her being mean to me. She seems normal at first, so my husband doesn't understand how bad it really is. Now things have gotten worse. She even has a key to our house that my husband gave her, and she uses it to come in whenever she wants, complaining about cleaning and cooking. She also talks badly about me to our neighbors. It's just one thing after another with her. I've been telling my husband for a while now that I want us to move far away from my in-laws, but he's been too busy with a big project at work to take me seriously. Then something good happened. My husband got a promotion. His project was a big success, so he got promoted and he'll be making more money now. Now that we're making more money, what do you think about starting a family? But if we're going to have kids, I want to live in a place that's good for them. There aren't many places for kids to play around here, and not many daycare centers. Don't you think it's time we moved? Finally, my husband agreed that we should move. I was happier about this than I was about his promotion, but that happiness didn't last long. The next day, my mother-in-law showed up at our house unannounced like usual. I was annoyed, thinking she was going to nag me again, but this time it was different. I want to celebrate my son's promotion by taking him to a fancy restaurant. It's really expensive, but the food is great, and everyone there is very nice, she said. That sounds nice. Good for you, I replied. You're still not very friendly, she said. Anyway, I want you to come with us. Please come. I'll see if I can, but it might not work out, I said. Don't say that. We want you to come, she insisted. Even though I said I might not be able to make it, my mother-in-law just smiled and left. She used to exclude me from things, but now she's inviting me and saying she'll wait. Something's up. When I asked my husband about it later, he said he had already agreed to go with her. She booked the restaurant for us, and I'm excited about it, he said. You're excited about this, right, Maya? My husband asked. Sorry, but I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm worried about how much it'll cost at such an expensive place. I don't want to go. Just tell them I'm busy and have fun without me, I replied. Why are you being so negative? Plus, it's not just us going. My brothers and their wives will be there too. It wouldn't be right if you didn't come and celebrate with the whole family, my husband said, eager for us to go to the fancy restaurant. He really wanted me to go, even though I didn't want to. He didn't seem to listen to me anymore. If he believes his mom more than me, I'll use the voice recorder I bought online to record her being mean to me. I thought to myself, she's probably going to be mean to me at the celebration too. I'll record her and show it to my husband. If he still takes her side, I'll think about divorcing him. Making that decision made me feel a bit better. But the day of meeting my mother-in-law at the restaurant felt really sad, and I couldn't stop sighing. I didn't know my husband's brothers well. I had only met them briefly at our wedding, and I barely remembered talking to their wives beyond saying hello. When we got to the restaurant, the waiter took us to a big room. My mother-in-law, one of my husband's brothers and his wife, and another brother and his wife were already there, sitting down. The fancy food was already on the table, and there was only one empty seat. My husband looked confused and wondered if there was a mistake. Did the waiter mess up? "I'll go check," he said and left the room. As soon as he left, everyone started eating. Then my mother-in-law stood up and looked at me with a mean expression. "There's no seat for you. Why would I invite someone who just married into our family to our celebration? So here's your choice. Prove you want to be part of our family or leave and never come back. What's it going to be?" Without hesitating, I said, "No, I'm leaving." My mother-in-law looked surprised for a moment. Did she really think I would beg her to accept me as family in this situation? No chance. "Listen, if you pay for everyone's meal here, I'll accept you as part of Terrell's family. You must be upset about being treated like a stranger, so pay up and become family," my mother-in-law said. "I already told you, I'm leaving. Why should I pay for someone else's family's meal?" I replied as I walked away. Mother-in-law slammed the table and yelled, "Don't you understand? I'm trying to make you part of the family. Are you okay with being a stranger? Pay up." "No, I'm fine being a stranger. And since I'm a stranger, I'm not paying for your meal. Goodbye." Mother-in-law tried to catch up to me, but by the time she got to the door of the room from the farthest seat, I was already at the restaurant's exit. When I got home and was thinking of emailing my husband, he returned within 10 minutes. The waiter said the reservation was correct, and my mom was causing a scene. "I heard everything from my brother," he said. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. You came back quickly," I said. "It seems like she would have caused a scene if you had stayed," he replied. "How could I sit with them after they insulted my Maya?" My husband quickly understood what had happened after I left and hurriedly came back home to me. After I said I was okay being treated like a stranger, it seemed to wake up my husband's brother's wives. They used to think they had to silently endure being treated badly, but seeing me stand up for myself made them realize they could too. They both left and their husbands quickly followed. I expected my mother-in-law to complain, and sure enough, the phone started ringing nonstop within 3 hours. I ignored it, but it was so loud that I had to block the calls. Then I got a call from an unknown number. "Hi, sorry for calling so late. Is this Maya's phone?" The person on the other end said he was a police officer from the nearby police station. He told me that after everyone left, my mother-in-law tried to eat and then wanted me to pay the bill later, but the restaurant didn't want to deal with her after the scene she caused. They refused to let her pay later, thinking I wouldn't come back after leaving so angrily. My mother-in-law then called me to come back and pay, but I ignored all her calls. The restaurant suggested she pay with a card. But my mother-in-law didn't have a credit card and didn't have enough cash to pay for everyone's meals. She tried calling other family members to help, but nobody picked up. Eventually, she got really angry and started yelling that it was all my fault. She got so mad that she started breaking expensive vases and flower pots in the restaurant, which made the staff call the police. The police tried to calm her down, but she kept saying she wasn't wrong. The restaurant didn't just have an unpaid bill, but also had to deal with a difficult customer, so they asked someone to take her home. Feeling bad for ignoring the police's calls, we reluctantly went back to the restaurant. When we got there, the police were trying to calm my mother-in-law down. She had her arms crossed and then suddenly screamed when she saw me, "You're useless. This happened because you didn't pay the bill. It's only right to help your mother, isn't it? Pay up now." I was shocked that she would say something so threatening even with the police there. The police told us that if nobody took her home, they would either drive her to her in-laws' house in their car or arrest her for not paying the restaurant bill. When I said, "Take her away, arrest her, or whatever, just make her take responsibility," with a serious tone, my mother-in-law looked shocked. She said, "How can you say something so heartless? I can't believe it. Just pay the bill. It's not good to have a family member arrested." I replied, "I don't care. I'm not family, and I don't want to be around someone who acts crazy and causes trouble." As I tried to leave the restaurant and let the police handle it, my husband, who had been quiet, gave me a stern look. He said, "I know what happened to Maya was wrong, but is it really worth getting arrested over?" I replied, "That's not the point. She's in trouble because she didn't pay the bill and caused a scene. It has nothing to do with me. Or are you saying it's my fault for not paying for 6 people's meals even though I didn't eat? My husband didn't say anything, but he walked past me and went to talk to the police and the restaurant staff. I knew what my husband was going to do when he walked away, so I called out to him, "If you pay for her meal and make it up to her, we're getting divorced." Think about that. But my husband didn't say anything and took out his wallet. I sighed and left the restaurant. I walked home, packed my things, and got ready to leave. Just before the day changed, my husband came back. He said, "Mom's not getting arrested." It turns out she was really wrong. The restaurant said they'd forgive her if I paid them back and promised she wouldn't come back. I didn't have enough money, so I called my brothers for help. My husband kept talking about what happened after I left, looking tired. Maybe because I didn't react much, he came over to me looking upset. "What's with the bags?" he asked. "I'm getting ready to leave because we're getting divorced." "I told you if you took her side, we'd get divorced. You can't pretend you didn't hear me," I said to my husband as he watched me pack with surprise. Then he started shouting, "What's going on today? You've been acting weird all day. I know Mom did something bad, but why do we have to get divorced? I already told you I'm being mistreated, and even when you see proof and hear others talk about it, you still choose your almost arrested mom over me. Is it weird that I want to divorce someone like that?" "I've had enough," I replied. My husband kept talking, but I didn't really listen. I got ready to leave and also got the paperwork for the divorce. The next morning, I got the divorce papers and signed them right away. My husband didn't want to get divorced, but when I said I'd get a lawyer, he reluctantly signed. Then I submitted the papers. Finally, I could go back to being a stranger. Later, my husband moved out and went to live with his parents. He used to rely on me for most of the housework, so without me, the house became a mess. He didn't like the messy house and decided to cancel the apartment lease and go back to his parents' home. The older and younger brothers ended up doing the same. When my husband asked them for help with paying back the restaurant, they got into big fights with their wives. The wives said they shouldn't have to pay for something that wasn't their fault, but the brothers used their own money to help their mom without asking their wives. And they believed their mom's words that their wives were being unreasonable and might get them arrested. Seeing them disrespect me made their love for their wives fade away, and they were faced with divorce right then and there. They also went back to their parents' home, saying they didn't want to do housework. So in the end, my mother-in-law and the 3 childish brothers all went back to their parents' house. Now there could talk of the neighborhood, with everyone saying the brothers were abandoned by their wives. Mother-in-law calls it nonsense and tries to explain how useful and ungrateful we wives were. The husbands heard the story and just nodded smugly, saying, "I knew it was the wife's fault." Divorcing them was the best choice. Luckily, I had good relationships with my neighbors, and nobody believed those stories. Mother-in-law earned a reputation as a mom who didn't do a good job raising her sons, and the husbands were known as mama's boys who always took their mother's side instead of supporting their wives. Even though my angry mother-in-law and the husbands tried to reach out to me, I had changed my contact details and moved to a new place. They couldn't find us in the end and are probably still grumbling about it. Not having to deal with my mother-in-law's stress is a big relief, and making new friends has made a big difference too. During the divorce, I became friends with the ex-wives of my husband's brothers. We bonded over our shared frustrations with my mother-in-law. Now we often hang out, go out to eat, and shop together on weekends. I might even have to thank my ex-husband for introducing me to such wonderful friends. It's great to be free to do what we want now. It might seem obvious, but it feels really freeing. I want to live our lives without getting involved with people like my mother-in-law. I'm grateful to my new friends. If it weren't for them, I might still be living alone. They've made me feel happy and not lonely. I'm truly thankful, and I hope